Artistic Gamer 7, and I'm back with more of The Sims 4 Once. This is part 2 of this video. Originally, I wasn't planning on doing it in 2 parts, but I found that what people are saying and then what I put my opinions out about what they're saying, I end up talking way too much, so I have to split it up. But they have really good ideas, and then, like, their ideas spark ideas in my head, and then that's just how this happens. So, this is part 2 of that video, so the rest of the people's tweets will be in this video, so let's hurry up and get started because I'm going to talk for a really long time, so let's try to not make it go on longer than I need it to. So the first tweet I'm going to be mentioning in this one is by Jason Anthony Sterling. It's Jason E. Sterling, well, at Jason Sterling 70 on Twitter. He mentions caste system of some sort like we had in Sims 3 that affects both caste and build and buy, a university EP with a college town, a farm EP with very rural small town, but mostly farms. So, one of the things he is saying here, we have mentioned in the last part, so, in part 1, which was the university pack. And he has it as EP, so it's actually a full-on expansion pack, but he says with a college town, so that definitely would maybe encourage me a little bit more, because I actually live about 30 minutes away from an actual college town. It's a big college. I may have mentioned it before, but I don't want to mention it too often because then that would sort of give a closer area to where I live. But it is one of the really big colleges of the United States. So I do know what college towns look like, and they are a lot different. It's basically a city, honestly, but the town next to it was meant to be sort of the bigger of the cities, but then after the college got there, it sort of, they both came. And honestly, you almost can't tell when you're leaving one to the other. So, college towns still are a lot different, though. Like, where these two cities meet, it's hard to tell, but once you get into the heart of where the college one is, you can tell. Like, there's a whole bunch of, like, shops and things like that geared to more college students type demographic, or whatever you want to call it, like groups of people, and it's definitely a lot different. There tends to be more things like bars and lounges and nightclub, well, not necessarily nightclubs, there's no nightclubs in the one near me, but there's a lot of bars, a lot of bars. There's like sports themes bars, there's an underground one, there's one that's like got this theme of I don't even know what's under that one, but it's like up on the top level, and I don't know if you can go underneath it, actually. I think underneath it is like a totally another thing. There's a bunch of food places that also have bars in them. So bars are definitely heavily centered, but all this stuff is very compacted and very close together. So that would intrigue me a little bit more for a university expansion pack if they give like a college town that truly seemed like a college town, like all this stuff compacted into a small area, but you still had a lot of living quarters. It would bring something sort of like apartments, but they would be like more like dorm, like maybe have like a dorm room area, but then also have houses and stuff that's like apartments, but they're not really done the same as apartments. At least the ones I've seen, they're not done the same. Like, the bottom level is, like, the kitchen, living area, and then there's a bunch of bedrooms on the top area that is the individual college students' bedrooms. So, what are those called, though? I can't even remember what those are called. They have a specific name, something house, and I can't think of what it is right now, but, like, those on the outskirts, because it's usually, like, the college, then, like, the dorm rooms, or basically in the college area, then you have like the bars and all that stuff, and then it's like those other houses. So definitely would be intrigued if they did bring that, because though it's mostly college students, there's still people that live there year round. Some of them are like the teachers or things like that, and then I know some students that actually live in the area, so they stay there year round until college comes back the next year. So things like that would be definitely interesting, as long as like your Sims could permanently live in it, or not permanent, like, be able to choose, like, if it was a dorm room, they probably permanently wouldn't live in it, or, like, maybe a way to, Like if you purchase a dorm room or a room of a house of one of those houses I can't even remember the names of, like if you can select purchase year round or purchase for school season, that would be a cool option because that's I know people that stay year round, but I also know people that don't stay year round. So that would be a really really cool option to have if they had town, like a college town and like place to live. I don't even know. Like I said, some of this stuff may have been in one of the previous universities, but I never fully gave it a chance. So sorry, but that would intrigue me a little bit more if they did that. So yeah. Also, another thing was like where they had brought them in with city living, like it looked like a hookah type thing. We have hookah bars around as well, so that would be another college thing to have. I'm trying to think of anything that's in the town that technically isn't already in the game. I just know there's a lot of storefronts, there's a lot of bars, different types of bars, like actual bars and hookah bars, a lot of food places. A lot of them are like, they're not really fast foods, but they're foods that you can sort of go in and grab. But it's definitely a unique feel going into this one city that the ones I'm referring to, that has the college versus the other city. They're both really big and rising cities, but they're completely different once you get into the heart of them. So, yeah. Anyway, here I go rambling again. The caste system that affects both, like in Sims 3, that affects both cast and build by, I'm trying to think of what that was, unless he's talking about the color wheel. That may have been. That's the only thing that I feel like translated in between both cast and build and buy in Sims 3. I could be wrong. Again, it's been a while since I played Sims 3, like a really long while. Like, because I stopped playing Sims 3 before the Sims 3 was done making game and expansion packs, because my computer that I had it on was like crashing. Plus, at that point, I had CC in the game, but I didn't nearly have as much CC in Sims 3 as I do in Sims 4 already. So, but I still had it, but the game was so slow. It was so laggy. It was so buggy, so crashy. I got to a point that I wasn't enjoying it much anyway, but just because it was so bad. So bad. And you couldn't really freely go in between all the worlds, so that was another thing that I didn't like about Sims 3, so that's why I don't really want open world to come back, because that was a big reason why it was so laggy, and that was also a reason why you really couldn't freely go around to the worlds without going out completely and then going back in. But you couldn't do it with your Sims, so but yeah, the color wheel is the only thing that I can think of that was on both of them. Tell me if I'm wrong, because, like I said, I haven't played it in a while, so I may be forgetting something, and I would like to know if I was forgetting something, but I can't think of something that translated in both or affected both of them, other than the color wheel. And the thing is, yes, part of me really wants a color wheel back. The other part of me is afraid that, I can't be 100% sure, but I feel like the color wheel may have also been a reason why lag sometimes got so bad in Sims 3. So there is a part of me that wants the color wheel, and another part of me that's like afraid of the color wheel, because I already get lag occasionally. After Seasons came in, though, the lag has been a little worse. I think the Seasons brought a few more bugs than they was expecting it to bring. So, and I mean, the fact that I do have CC does affect it a little bit too, but my computer's it's not the highest power computer, because I can't afford that just yet. But it's up there. So, it's not horrible. And the lag, honestly, isn't too bad, except for occasionally I'll get a lag spike out of nowhere, and I'm like, what is going on? So, but I think sometimes, some of the clothes that I download, I realize that in cast it is lagging it, so I've sort of found out that sometimes when it lags it in cast, it lags it out in the world too if a random sim spawns in with it. So, and I do have an item in my cast that I recently noticed does load in real slow, so that also may be affecting it. I need to get it out. But, so, that's my thing with the color wheel, and that's what I'm thinking. Now, cast system as a whole, there's a lot of things that I think they could bring back from some of the previous Sims that wouldn't bring lag. And that's like, the favorite music, the favorite, the likes and dislikes that someone else was mentioning and things like that. Those type of things that were in cast, I feel like they could bring them back. and I would like that. So an updated cast system to sort of add things. I love cast, so just bringing more options to cast, I'm perfectly fine with. I'm on the edge about the color wheel. I sort of get why they brought it in for pets. It made a little bit more sense with pets just because the way pets are and things like that, and it's harder to replicate someone's pet versus in The Sims without a color wheel than it is to replicate a sim without a color wheel. I can easily replicate myself, my sim self, without CC. I prefer the CC. But without CC, I can easily replicate myself in the game just fine. Granted, if you have certain dyed hairs, then yeah, it comes a little bit hard, especially if you don't have CC. But there is CC out there that a lot of times does help with it to a certain extent, but pets, I could see it's a lot harder to replicate your pet than it is yourself without a color wheel. So I can see why they brought it back, but I don't necessarily want it back for everything else. I think if I had to choose bringing it back for Create a Sim or Build and Buy, I would actually bring it back to Build and Buy before I would to Create a Sim, but I'm still afraid that it would still be laggy. But the only reason why I would maybe want it for Build and Buy more than Create a Sim is now that I'm getting into building more and decorating more, I find it sometimes hard that there's a certain wallpaper or a certain furniture piece that I really like, and I really think it fits the setting, but I can't find a color swatch that fits the rest of the room. Or like, particularly with like some of the couches or beds or something like that, they'll have pillows. Like one thing throws it off, like the pillows colors throw it off or something like that, or the wood texture, wood color that's on it. I can't get it the right color that matches with everything else in the room. But I'm still afraid that's going to bring a lot of lag, and I don't want anything that brings like a whole lot of lag. So preferably, I don't really know if I feel how I feel about the color wheel. And from, it's sad to say it for the people who really want the color wheel to come back. From what I've been seeing from like sim gurus and things like that, I feel like they're really against bringing that color wheel back. And I think it is because maybe they did find it to be a big source of lag in Sims 3, so I feel like that's a strong reason why it wasn't brought back in the first place. So, same with the open world concept. It was really cool and amazing, and when it first was implemented, hello train, I loved it, but I learned to hate it as I got further in and the more expansion packs you added. So, that's the only thing with those two things, which I know he didn't mention open worlds, but those two, I sort of think of them hand in hand because I do sort of blame them both for really bad lag issues in Sims 3. Now, the last one he said was the farm expansion pack. And if they brought a town with it, though we've seen with vampires they can bring a town with a game pack, but also the fact of what they did with Jungle Adventure, I feel like they could bring a town with a game pack. But I feel like a farm, I mean, maybe you could get a farm expansion pack out of, into, bring enough to make it an EP, but at the same time, I'm not sure if I care if it's an EP or a game pack. But a lot of people want farming. I think farming would add a nice touch, and it would give you some individual sims, and it also give you, if they bring a world, if they make a farm game pack or expansion pack, whatever it may be, which of the two, if they bring farming into Sims 4, they have to make a new world for it. I don't think there's any world out there right now that fits a farming sort of feel. Yes, you can maybe have like mini farms or mini things like that. People already do mini gardens no matter almost where you live. But I think if you wanted to do full-on farming, there has to be a new world because none of these worlds fit. The closest one, I don't even think any of them are close, honestly. Thinking about it, I would say, honestly, I was gonna say Newcrest, but if you look on the outskirts of Newcrest, it's almost like you can see the city in the distance. So no. Okay, random thing that does not involve The Sims whatsoever. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna cut it out because even inside my room it was really loud, but my cat, there's a hamper outside that she likes to play with, but she almost never plays with it unless I'm putting stuff in it because she likes to try to attack the stuff from the outside of the hamper. Jumped inside the hamper, got herself stuck in the hamper, and she gets scared really easy, so when the lid snapped down and made that loud noise, it scared her, and it was a crazy mess, and the hamper fell over, but it's in a hallway, so the hamper's too tall for it to completely fall down, and she was a little bit in a panic, but I helped her, so she's fine now. She's very fluffed. Her tail's like this big when it's normally like that big, but it's fine. I also used the opportunity to get me a drink because I've talked way too much that my throat was starting to get a little dry, a little sore. So, but anyway, back onto the farming thing and the worlds. But there seriously is not a world that I can think of. If Oasis Spring wasn't a desert, it would probably be the closest, but the fact that it's a desert doesn't make it really very suitable for farming. But otherwise, like, the setting of it and everything fits the most with farming. I actually live in, even though I said that there's a college town and a city like 30, 40 minutes away from me, where I live, you can be in a city one minute and then, like, out in the midst of nowhere the next. And particularly where I live is out in the middle of nowhere. Like, the county that those two big cities live in, even someone who's lived there all their life, because I worked in those cities instead of in my county, so I worked in another county. I would mention, like, they would start talking, and I would mention, for whatever reason, we got on the topic of counties or where we lived or something like that, and I'd be like, yeah, I live in so-and-so county, and they're like, oh, I've never heard of that. Where's that at? And I'm like, it's the next county over. The border's like 15 minutes from here. I live on like the far end of the county, so I drive mostly through my county. I'm only in the other county for like 10 minutes or so to get to my work, or where I used to work. So the border of my county was only 10-15 minutes away from these people, and they still had never heard of it. I'm like, so the county I live in is a strong rural farming type community, so I think that's part of the reason why I'm not as excited about this expansion pack, because I have never liked farming. I am not a farming type person. I have helped my family out on farms, but that was only because they were family, and especially when I was little, I didn't really have a choice. But it's not my thing. It's just not really my thing. But, you know, so that may be part of the reason why I'm not totally excited about a farming pack, but at the same time, I want more worlds, and I think the fact that there is no worlds that accurately represent the royal I can never say that word. Like, the more rural communities, the smaller type, have bigger yards, and houses are, even if they're close together, they're still not, like, right on top of each other type feel. And I know some of the worlds don't have a lot of the worlds don't have houses, like, directly on top of each other. I think Oasis Springs is probably the one that represents that the most, but it's a desert. But it's just a different overall feel, and the background areas for the houses should look totally different. There should be, like, hay fields and things like that around, and, like, you should be able to see, like, fences with cows in them in the distance. Those type of things. So, and I feel like so many people do want the farming one, which, though I'll probably end up using it if they have it. And I do want a world that looks more like a farming community, because it would be different, and I want more different worlds. And again, I like having Sims that are different, so yeah, I would definitely use it. It's not one of my number one front runners. I would want it more than a university one, though. I will say that, again, that's just me. I haven't grown fond of university yet, but maybe this go around could change me, but I definitely think I would enjoy the farming one a little bit more than the university one. I would be okay if they're both coming. I'm pretty sure, honestly, they are both coming. I feel like they are. I feel like it's inevitable because so many people want both of them. And university, because it's been in 2 expansions, almost seems like a no-brainer that eventually it's going to come back, and so many people also want it. But farming, like, the pets in Sims 3 sort of brought a farming element since it had horses, but it's never gone as far as what people are wanting it. They want pigs, they want cows. That is, like, and honestly, those are, like, true farming type things. See, I don't like cows in real life. They're from a distance, they're fine, but I think they smell. I'm not meant for farming. That's not my thing. But, again, it would add a lot different individual Sims, like, individualness that you can add to your Sims if it had this option. So I would definitely be okay with a farming pack. But also, there was, again, they say not to read into their tweets and things like that too much, and not to, but Grant did do a thing that referenced, like, animals if there was ever a farming pack. Like, I think it was like, what if there was ever a farming thing, what animals would you want to see? Most people were like, why wouldn't you have all of them? Because I think it was like cows, pigs, chickens, I don't remember, I think some animals were added together. I think horses was one. But people were like, why wouldn't you add all of them since it's a farming thing? Which I think if you're going to do a farming thing, you do need horses, you do need cows, you do need chickens, pigs. Not every farmer does everyone. My grandfather actually had cows, but didn't have any of the others. But he had, like, big giant fields with crops in them and things like that, and the cows were there as well. I remember picking green beans and plowing up potatoes all the time up there, and always being afraid that the cows were going to come over or that I was going to step in cow manure. I was always afraid of that, but I have fond memories of riding in the back of the trucks, because since it was on the grounds and things like that, and I didn't have to go on actual roads, we got the ride on the back of the tailgates of the trucks. And I was like, loved swinging my legs off of the back of the truck, and sometimes the way it was so bumpy, sometimes they almost touched the ground, and I'd be like, I'm walking backwards so fast. I was amused as a child by this, so I do have fond memories of it, so I would probably be down with it. But so just because of that, they're even bringing it up, to me seems like they're at least considering it. They're at least thinking about it. And maybe trying to figure out ways of how they would do it or how they would go about it. So I feel like there's a chance of there a game pack or expansion pack of farming. So I think it's coming, but I'm not sure when or how. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But I would be down with it, especially if it brings me another world. Anytime anything brings me a new world, I'll be okay with it. Okay, the next one is from... I always say this wrong. I know I always say this wrong. Phantasmal Blonde. I know her pretty well, and I talk to her quite often. At least, usually on Twitter. She's really cool. I really enjoy talking with her. But she only actually said one thing. But the thing with her, the thing to remember, is that she actually doesn't play it on PC. She plays it on PlayStation. So, and that's something that I think a lot of times I forget now, is that there is a console version that is that's basically identical to the PlayStation version. The only difference is you can't get custom content. So that can affect the PlayStation 4, or what all consoles? Is it on Xbox and Sony? I don't remember. I don't have an Xbox, so I don't really keep up with Xbox stuff as much. But I know it's on PlayStation, and she has it on PlayStation, so we'll just go with that. But anyway, she actually was like I.lash.e.s. dramatic. She wants eyelashes, and I will say, because I know that there's the mod to get rid of the EA eyelashes, and then you can add I know there's one particular person who made really good eyelashes, and I have a lot of their hairs, but I don't have the eyelashes. It's like Kyoko, or something like that. Those are out there for the console gamers, but it's sort of annoying that you would have to remove the EA eyelashes and then place all these eyelashes on these Sims. Because I sort of want those eyelashes, but I think with the EA eyelashes on, they look a little strange sometimes, with them still on. But I don't want to remove eyelashes, because there's a lot of Sims that the game generates, or a lot of Sims that I don't play quite as often, that it would remove their eyelashes and they would have, like, no eyelashes, which on a lot of Sims would look really weird. Some Sims it wouldn't look too weird on, but a lot of them it would. So I don't want to have to go through every single character of my game now that I have so many and add eyelashes onto them. So that's a big reason why I don't have it in my game. So if they fixed the eyelashes and made them more realistic and not just this big block going across the eye, I would love it. I would much enjoy that myself, even though I'm on PC. But to someone like the console gamers, I definitely think little things like that would be really nice for them. And that's literally the only thing she said. She's like, I know you can get CC and mods, but I can't on console, so eyelashes would actually be the thing I'd forever appreciate. But so that's definitely something that I think would be nice. I don't think that should be like part of a pack or anything. I think that should be like a free update for the console and PC if they did do something like that. I would much appreciate it because I don't want to go through every single sim that I have and put eyelashes on them. So yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice if they just automatically updated them. So like if you have the big eyelashes, like they have sims that have bigger eyelashes on based off of theirs, that they get bigger eyelashes and so on and so forth. So it just sort of updates that way. And I don't see how eyelashes like that would really cause a lot of loading issues because they are so minute. But I don't know programming and stuff too well, so maybe it would. But I don't think it would make that big of a difference. I don't think it would cause like lag issues or anything like that. So I don't know why they didn't try to give them at least somewhat more of a realistic look to begin with, but instead of these black things. But I deal with them. I don't hate them so much. I tolerate them enough that because I don't want to go through and put eyelashes on every single one of my sims, I deal with them. So that's basically the thing. But anyway, let's get on to the next one. Okay, the next one is from Belle, at Belle Loves Sims. And she says, one of the ones she said, two of the things she says sort of can slightly tie together, but one of them she says we've already sort of talked about, which is farming. Which again, I know quite a few people actually are wanting the farming. It would bring a huge difference in your game compared to the rest of them. And to me, I have like sort of an idea of how all the worlds connect. To me, all the worlds connect somehow. They all somehow connect. I sort of have an envision that maybe San Mashuto is almost like the center of it, like this city, and then it's slowly starting to be surrounded by like suburbs. I just hit the mic, so I hope that didn't make a really horrible noise. Sorry if it did. But like, it's the center, and then surrounded you got your suburbs, and then it starts heading out into like smaller suburbs, or starts getting really rural areas. But we don't have any rural, I can't say it, rural areas. I really cannot say that word. In the game, Oasis Springs is the closest to that, but it's a desert. But it's still not as like inhabited. It has bigger lots, so like bigger homes, and I do imagine it's probably one of the furthest ones out there. But if they gave a farming lot, I imagine it's also farther out there too, but it may be on the opposite sides. Like if you go this way, you get to the desert. If you go this way, you get to like the small towns that everyone lives really far apart, that type of thing. Because in my head, all these worlds are connected somehow. Like if you since your sims can freely travel through them, there has to be some way they're getting from New Crest to San Mashuto, from Forgotten Hollow to Willow Creek. Like there has to be some way they're traveling through. Like granted, we don't have cards, so they look like they just teleport, but realistically wise, there is some way that they're getting through there. There is some road or path that connects these worlds that the Sims are traveling on, technically. So, yeah, in my head, I have them all connected. But the other thing she has is off the grid living, which can slightly tie with farming, because especially if you're like a huge, big farmer, you tend to have a lot of land and you don't live around a lot of people. You don't live around a lot of stores and things like that. Usually a lot of those really small towns, there's like one store in it. So, yeah, my county in particular only has, one of the things I use to describe my county is red lights. And that sounds really weird, but you know, the further into a city you get, the more red lights you have. So I'm always like, yeah, my county only has 2 red lights in the whole entire county. So one of them happens to be in my town, but I think that just happened to be a coincidence. But they're like, and everyone's like, only 2? But I think there's actually a third one. I think one of my friends, we actually discussed it. I think there's actually a third one, but still, or is there? I don't know. But off the grid would be even more so, like almost no town. So that would be like you live in Granite Falls. So I feel like there should be more options if someone chooses. Like, you have tents and things like that, but I think a few more options for off-the-grid living would be nice. I don't think off-the-grid living necessarily would need, like, a whole new world. It just depends on how and they do it. If they give you more options for off-the-grid with farming, that would work, because that world probably, if it has a world, would probably be more desolate wouldn't have as many things in it or as many things going on. But if they added it as like a little small like stuff pack or something like that, I don't know how well it would work because the worlds that we currently have would be sort of hard to sort of distance yourself, except for maybe in Oasis Springs and maybe Brundleton Bay, because some of the lots are sort of back in like the hills or the mountains or whatever. So it could be done, but I think it would be better if you had something like a an area where farms are at, that type of world. It would fit a little bit better with those type of worlds. And then she also mentions a tropical world with swimming in the ocean, which I have said in the first one when someone was mentioning like more worlds. I would love a world that is a beach ocean theme world. We have Brundleton Bay that's technically like, is it supposed to be attached to a sea or an ocean? I can't remember if it's a sea or an ocean. And then of course I think oh, why am I forgetting? Windenburg is also like part of it in a. It's either part like with a huge lake or attached to the ocean or sea as well. But neither one of them have, and like they have like areas that look like beaches or they are beaches, but they're really small beaches. And I feel like Windenburg fits more of that little town that is connected to the sea or the ocean that almost no one really people go to, but they don't see it as like a beach setting. Like the only people who uses the beach is the locals and things like that. And then the same thing sort of for Brundleton Bay, but it's also like a port area. So this is where a lot of your boats and stuff come in from oceans and seas from traveling and things like that. But there's no like one where the ocean is the main attraction for it. So like beach houses, those type of things. I want that in a world, and that's what I would think of a tropical world, is it would have these beach houses. Now she could be also referring to it as it being a destination world. I could see doing either one. I would hope that technically there would be a living area for beach houses, like a ocean beach thing as well. I wish there was sort of a world that sort of combined the regular worlds and the vacation worlds. Like there's a certain section in like a vacation world that you can, like, you know how you have your little neighborhoods or whatever they call them, sections that you could live in, but the rest of the section was only allowed for like tourist vacation type things. I think that would be cool, because I would really like to be able to have people live at a ocean beachy setting, but also people vacation to those areas as well. Probably some of the locals get really annoyed at tourists, so I hit my other computer and now it's mad at me. But I feel like a tropical beachy type setting would fit being able to live in, but also being a tourist attraction. So I don't know if there's a way to sort of designate to make it to be half and half, but I would love that idea. I would love being able to have a section that people actually live in, and then there's a section that the tourists go to and live in. So that would be very cool, and definitely would love it. And I want the swimming in the ocean. I want to be able to swim in these oceans and lakes, because a lot of people do. I live on the side of a river, and people go swimming in the river all the time. So things like bigger bodies of water, I feel like there should be an option to let your Sims swim in. Now certain ones, of course, if it's like used as a port, or if it's used to send boats through, so like that place that Willow Creek has with the little oh, what are those boats called? Ferry, is that what they're called? I think that's what they're called. Those places your Sims probably shouldn't be swimming in, because of the fact that there is these large boats coming through them. So yeah, there's certain areas that probably shouldn't be allowed to let Sims swim in, but there should be areas designated that Sims can swim in, these big bodies of water, because I think it would make sense. Like if I live in Wendletonburg on that island particularly, I would definitely go in and swim in that ocean or play in that sea or whatever it is. I don't know if it's, is that a lake? I should know these things, but I don't. But whatever, either way, lake, ocean, sea, river, people swim in all of them. So I feel like there should be an option to swim in these, because I would if I lived in these worlds. But anyway, rambling, continuing on to the next one, which is by Symbiotic Zan, which is @ _symbiotic _. Again, I'm going to try to put all these up on the screen so you can see them as well, so that if I'm mispronouncing these things or I'm not saying them to the point that you know how to get them, they'll be up there. But they say my top 3 are definitely more window options, maybe even custom window options. I think that there's more. Word again. Royal with custom wall and building options. I need more creative freedom. LOL. I agree with that quite a bit. Even if, like I was saying, even if it doesn't necessarily come with the farm stuff, I think there needs to be a world that fits the more royal, I'm just gonna say whatever comes out of my mouth and we're just gonna go with it. Royal area better. So, because none of them accurately represent that, and being as someone who lives in that type of area, I definitely, though I want to go in, not necessarily a big city, I do want to move closer to a city. I like suburbs a little bit better, because they're sort of the mix of the two. Like, you're not right on top of each other, there's not a lot going on, but you're still close enough to the city that when you want to go do something, it's right there. So, that's how I like the suburbs better, but I feel like there should be more of a representation of city, suburbs, and royal, because a lot of people live in those areas, and there's some people that prefer those areas more than the other areas, and I understand that. Most of my family prefer where we live now, and most of them are like, why do you want to go live over there? But that's just me. That's just who I am. They like this area, I would prefer a different area. So, I think that really does need to come in play, but I think it would make sense to come with a farming type thing. So I definitely see that world coming with farming if they do bring it in, which I feel like there's a pretty high chance. I'm not going to say with a certainty. I'm more certain that witches are coming and university is coming than I am farming, but I think it's pretty high up there that eventually it will come. And the way that they seem to be talking about the Sims 4 lifespan is that they want to get more detailed into it or something like that. Like, they basically said that the lifespan of Sims 4 wasn't coming to an end anytime soon, which means it probably is not following the 5-year cycle that the previous 2 did. I know from Sims 1 to 2 it wasn't a big life cycle. I think it was only like 3 in that one, but in between 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 it was 5 years for both of them, but it seems like Sims 4 is not going to follow that same thing. So I definitely see there is a pretty high chance that farming is coming eventually. I just don't know how soon. Granted, it seems like they're talking more about, like, occult and farming stuff from just what I've seen than they have been university stuff, unless I've missed a tweet about university stuff. So, maybe it's a higher chance of it coming before university. I'm not really sure. But we'll just have to see what they have in store for us, but I feel like I've talked about the farming one way more than I've been to, but I keep reiterating or adding to as I go. The window options, this is something I never really thought about, but I will say, like, I don't have too bad of a window option because I have some custom content ones, but I noticed once you get to there's 3 levels of window options, and the two tallest levels don't nearly have as many options as the other ones. And, like, granted, you usually build in the other ones more often than the 2 higher levels of walls, but still, when you build in those 2 higher levels of walls, especially the highest level of wall, those first level windows usually look really weird in them. Sometimes you can do it right and you can sort of stack them on top of each other and it looks cool, but otherwise, no, most of them don't work, and even sometimes the medium-sized ones look weird with the tallest setting. So in those regards, I definitely would like more options, and one of the things that irritates me the most is, like, there's round windows, and I like them to be in the peaks of when I do, like, roofs and things like that, but half of the time they don't fit in the center of that peak. That annoys me. Like, if there's some way they can fix it to where I can actually get it in the center. And I've tried using the alt trick, but it moves up and down, but I never can get it in, like, the center. I can't move it, like, this way. Or at least it hasn't worked for me. If there's something I'm doing wrong, let me know, because I would love to get it in the center of those peaks. And sometimes I can find windows that will do that, but there's certain windows that won't do that. So it's really weird and really annoying, so I wish, in some regards, there was some fix with those windows. But, definitely the 2 higher settings definitely should have more options, though, so I will say that. But I never really thought about, like, individual window options. And then she also mentions more custom wall and building options. So I'm assuming that may again be reinforcing the color wheel, maybe, or just maybe trying to bring more color swatches to the ones that we already have. Sometimes I do find it a struggle to get certain color options that I want to go with the flooring options. I feel like, except for with like the exceptions to the tiles, some of the floors and not like there's some carpets out there that don't fit with like any of the wall options, like well like flooring options don't fit any of the wall options, some wall options that don't fit in with any of the floor options. So I do wish that there was, you know, always make sure that there's a wall option that does look really well with a floor option. So I would like more of those, and I feel like they don't bring much of those as they do objects because they don't look at them as much, but getting into building more, I've noticed things like that. So I definitely, that's usually sometimes what takes me long, and I usually cut those out if I spend really, really long time in one particular room trying to figure out what wallpaper I want in there. Then I'll cut that out because I'm like, no, that's way too long. That's just taking way, way too long at this point, so let me just cut that out now. But, I definitely, anything that gives me more creativity, I'm definitely down for, though, because I'm more of a creative person. I'm not as, like, creative as some people out there, but I like being as creative as I can be. So, anytime I get more options that let me sort of explore some more creative thoughts or ideas or things like that, I'm down for, I'm okay with. Okay, the next person is Alice, or at Alley Cat Simmer, and she says, that is honestly hard. I would say my top three would be more stair options slash elevators, more occult types, and 100% more worlds. Even if it was its own thing for the world, I would be okay with it. So, I definitely agree with basically all of these. Two of them I've already sort of mentioned before. When she's talking about even as its own thing, I'm assuming as like a Newcrest thing or maybe even as buying. And like I said, again, I would be down for either one. If it's, I would rather the more detailed option, which I would imagine if they try to get it as detailed as the other worlds, that you probably would have to somehow put some sort of money into it. But I'd be okay with it as long as it wasn't like up there with game pack price. I would be alright with it. So, I'm assuming that's what she's meaning there. Either one I'd be down for. If we got another free world, even if it wasn't as detailed, I'd still be okay with it. I mean, I'd prefer the more detailed, like I was saying, but either one's fine. I want more worlds. So, that's okay. But, the, occult types, again, sort of touched on that with the whole magic thing. I think that was in the last video, so if you didn't watch it, then maybe you don't really fully remember, but I'm down for any occult types. Witches and fairies are definitely my top two, but I like having more different options. I like combining that fantasy with realism. So, and I like it done in such a way that your realistic thoughts and minds and stuff like that can sort of actually connect the fantasy. Like, somehow it makes sense. I feel like adding witches next would be the best idea, because the thought of having magic and the thought of like maybe this magic has created these other occult types and creatures, and or because the use of magic in the world has caused these things to happen, that is a way that you can look at it to connect the realism with the fantasy. So, and plus I think most people really want witches. I feel like witches are definitely the next occult to come. I feel like they're one of the things that I can almost say with 100% guarantee, so basically 99.9% guarantee that they're coming. I don't know when, but they are. So I'm hoping very, very soon. There's been like little hints that people's been finding in, I know like Laundry Day had some that everyone's like, magic is coming, magic is coming. We haven't seen it yet. We can hope. There's been a lot of things that sort of hint or guide towards it as more of a soon thing, so maybe it's something we'll get even this year, but we'll see. But any occult types I would be okay with. I like having a lot of different unique sims, so I'm down for any more occult types: fairies, mermaids, werewolves, robot creatures. I would if they bring robots, I would like the hybrid option as well, though. I know, who was it that made a mod? I actually have that mod in my game, but the way she's made it work is a little bit differently than how, of course, the actual occult system would work, but it's still, at least with storytelling wise, it works. So, yeah, but I really really want more cult types. I would rather it be like an actual cult types, but like I was saying, she brought in like the robots and stuff, but I would want hybrids as a thing as well if they did that as like an actual cult type. But genies, you name it. Zombies, I don't care if they bring zombies back. I didn't really care for the zombies. I'm okay if the zombies don't come back. So, I mean, maybe as like a side note or something like that, but not necessarily that your Sims can become zombies or something. I didn't like the zombies as much, and I didn't really fool with them too much, so there was that thing. The only time that I really was ever concerned about them was when there was like a bunch of them that just came up out of the dirt out of nowhere, and I was like, I don't want my Sims to turn into zombies, so I would just barricade my Sims into houses and not let them go out and go near the zombies. But other than that, I don't care if those ones come back, but a lot of the other ones, I'm down for. So, and then she's the first one that I've gotten to. I don't know if she's the only one, but she's the first one I've gotten to that's mentioned the more stair options / elevators. Now, elevators are in City Living. They do function in City Living, but you can't actually build with them, which annoys me, because they've added that option, but you can't build with them. So it's like, I want elevators. And I know there's also a mod of someone who's also done like the spiral staircases, elevators, and things like that. It just teleports the sim up towards the top, which is cool. It's nice. It's good to have at least something. I haven't downloaded it in my game because I would rather actually see them going into the elevator or walking up the stairs. But I want more stair options. I want to be able to do like spiral staircases. Number one, I want spiral staircases. That is the number one. But I would also like more options like the half stairs where it goes to like a landing and then turns up and goes. I know you can sort of do that in Build and Buy, but it has to be at more of a dramatic. Usually you have to either have the foundation and delete the floor and let the level be down lower, and you can sort of get that and stuff, but I want to be able to do it on like upper floors too, and not be like super dramatic. So like the half floor that it goes towards the wall and then cuts back up the wall, so that would be cool. I really also like the idea of being able to have a option for going up into like what you make into an attic space. If you watch my abandoned house build, I did actually sort of mention this. So basically a lot of attics tend to not have staircases. If they do, they're hidden staircases, but they tend to be more compact staircases. They're not as big, or like they don't, sometimes like you barely, it's like colonial almost, like old staircases if you go into like old houses. And I remember the first time I went into an old house, it was part of a school function, and the tour guide told us like, be careful when we get inside the house and we go up the stairs, they're not as big. Because back in the old days, they didn't make them as big due to, she said, partially to, like, building materials and the way things were built, but also because back in the day, people actually didn't have as big as feet as we do now. Feet sizes have grown quite a bit from, like, colonial times and things like that. And I know me and my friends were sort of like, oh, okay. But when we actually got onto the stairs, they wasn't joking. Like, I don't even think half of my foot was fully on the stairs. Like, you had to mainly walk on your tippy toes to get up these stairs. So, but I think a lot of attics tend to do, if they have a staircase, their stairs more resemble those type of stairs, so they're really close together. But most attics I know have, like, a stair system that folds down or a ladder that folds down. So if they can give us options like that, too, to make, like, realistic attics, that would be cool as well. So more stair options and more ways to, like, get from floor to floor, I would love. So I'm definitely in agreement with that. I actually strongly agree with basically everything she said, but two of them were already mentioned a few times already, but yeah. I'd be okay with all of them. So on to the next one, which is by Jack Preston. I am Jack Preston. Well, at I am Jack Preston. Says, I'd love to see a transportation package with cars, trucks, vans, ATVs, trains, subways, planes, etc. Which I know a lot of people do want cars back. I personally I would like cars back, but it's not going to tear me or bother me if we never get cars. I think cars just add that little tiny detail element of, like, realizing how your Sims get around, how they get from A to B, things like that. And technically they're in the game. You just can't actually use them functionally. So it gives you at least an idea that, yeah, the Sims are traveling around by cars, but you don't have that option. So, that's the thing. But also, then once you got to Jungle Adventure, you see like the helicopter flying around, which I think is absolutely cool. I would have loved if there was an option, even if you didn't get to see it, if there's an option somewhere that you finally got to see the helicopter like landed, or like a helicopter station, and you could click on it and say like go take jungle tour, and your Sims could get like a little happy moodlet because they got to see the beauty of the jungle. That would have been really cool if that was implemented. So if they start bringing like those little things, like ways to interact with these different modes of transportation, that would be cool. Not gonna lie, one of the things I do with new Sims expansion packs, this may be like the horrible part of my brain or the unmature part of my brain, but every time there's a new pack, I'm always interested if there's a new woohoo spot. And if it is, where's it at? How many are there? So the fact that one of the huge ones that was sort of in the previous packs, which was the car, is gone, sort of is annoying. I'm like, nah, I liked having these sort of odd options for it because, you know, sometimes people want to be a little adventurous and a little bit different. So those options were nicer, but and a little cool, interesting detail and sort of funny detail. I'm pretty sure the Sims reacted to them in the car if they walked by the car. I can't remember. I remember the photo booth. That one was funny. People reacted to the photo booth. I do remember that. And it was it like trying on clothes, like the little fitting rooms. People react. I like the Sims. I feel like Sims don't react to things as well as they should. But anyway, we can get to that on the end if no one mentions something like that. But so yeah, like ways to interact with the vehicles, reasons why the Sims would be interacting with them other than just getting from point A to B would also really make me want to like something with vehicles if they did add more to them other than getting from point A to B. But I think cars would still add a little bit extra, a little bit more realism into the game. So it'd be okay if they came back. I'd like it if they would, but again, I'm not too concerned about it. But I did mention, like, I replied to them and was, let me see if I have the full. I was like, well, it'd be interesting to see more than cars, maybe even depending on worlds the Sims lived in determines on the type of transportation and more common. And then I said thank them for their input. But because when they said that, I started thinking about that, and then it's like, exactly, Sen Mashuto would have subways, buses, taxis, and cars, while Oasis Springs would be more about cars, vans, and trucks. So if they added more detail like that as well, I would be more interested in it if they did like a stuff pack that revolved around transportation. If they gave you options like for example, My Jungle Adventure, where you can like your Sims can interact with it. You may not see it, but they get a little moodlet from it. So, or if they wanted like traveling from, I think it would be funny traveling from like when they go on vacation, you would imagine they're traveling through plane, more likely that maybe after they get to that location, maybe they can get moodlets from them, like that was a scary flight or an enjoyable flight. So like a tense moodlet if the flight was horrible, or a happy moodlet if it was good, or maybe if they actually got some rest on the plane, they get a energized moodlet. Stuff like that I think would be cool. Little details they could add if they did something with transportation, and I would actually be okay. Those little details actually influence the game quite a bit and make it a lot cooler and a lot more interesting if you do things like that. So if they can do like things like that, and like if they brought farming in and you could ride in the back of the trucks, yes. I would definitely be for that now that I'm thinking about that, because again, my childhood. Right there. So I would really be okay with that. So it would be cool if they brought it back in that way. If they just bring them back for the point of Sims getting in the car, driving away, leaving to go to work, leaving to go to the next point, and that's it, then don't bring them back. There's no point. But if they actually like have options like, you know, the whole woohoo option, or listen to music, or go cruising, or go on a tour of the jungle in the helicopter, or moodlets from the plane, or ride in the back of the truck on the farm, those type of things, those things would make a difference. Those things would make me enjoy the transportation. That would make me enjoy that the cars and trucks and vans and whatever they may be are there. So if they went in that much detail with it, yes, bring them. If they didn't, no, just forget about it. Don't waste your time. So, but it could go amazing if they did do it right. So, there's that. But on to the next one, and this is from Blue Frang at Blue Frang 03. I'm probably saying that really, really wrong. Sorry, I apologize. And they say, I don't have a top 3, but I want more than just cats and dogs. I want reptiles. I want to put a fish tank up covering a wall and have a yard set up for tortoises to roam around. That would be cool. Now, I definitely agree with what she said. I don't think originally this would have been one of the things that I would put as like one of my tops, but I definitely agree. I want more than just the cats and dogs. Granted, if you get my first pet stuff, you can have like some of those things. But the thing with my first pet stuff, I have it just because, again, I'm sticking to the fact that I'm getting every single pack that they have, and I do look at it. I think my first pet stuff could have been done so much differently, and it would have been fine. So, and I talked more about the review that I did of my first pet stuff when I did the, like, build and buy and game play review. So if you want to go back and watch that, I mentioned towards the end ways that I think they could have done it so much better and would have not been so irritating. I think at this point, if I don't pay attention to how much the games usually are at this point, because I already have all of them, but at this point I feel like my first pet stuff should be brought down in price, because it was a little silly, it was a little stupid. That was like the worst and lowest that I think Sims 4 has hit with that pack particularly, but do I hate the pack? Without thinking about separating it from cats and dogs, separating it from the price and everything, it had some good stuff in it. You got those little hamsters, so it added another pet into a certain degree, but I feel like they should have included more into it that didn't totally affect whether you actually had cats and dogs or something. But there definitely needs to be more pet options. Not everyone has the same pets, and some people have multiple pets. Now, I do wish if they do add things like reptiles and things like that, they work more like the hamsters and stuff than the cats and dogs, because I don't want anything taking any more sim spaces. I wish they would have gave, like, cats and dogs a separate thing, because some people have a lot of pets and still have a big family. So I wish, like, you know how, like, you have the paws area? Pets maybe should have went on the other side, and you had so many slots, maybe only not as many slots, maybe like 4 or 6 slots that could be only pets, and then still have your 8 for your Sims. I wish it would have been done that way, because, you know, there's some people that have big families but also have a lot of pets. So, but oh well. But anyway, definitely don't want any more pets that would take up a space for your Sims household, but more pets should be added, so, or more animals in general. I feel like it's very lacking in animals, because some people do have pet snakes and pet lizards and pet spiders, which I don't fully get the whole tarantula thing, because I don't like spiders. But some people have pet goats and pigs and you name it. There's a lot of pets out there that people have that are not featured in the game at all. So I would definitely be good with some more pets and such, so that we can have more of a variety. So definitely would like that, and that's the only thing she said. So we're gonna head on to the next one, which is X Shane Sims X, which is the same for her @ name. I miss the celebrity Sims from Sims 3. They can do so much more with it in Sims 4 with the way social media and reality TV stars have exploded over the years, which this is very, very, very true. We sort of touched on the celebrity superstar type thing back in part 1. Just to briefly go over it, I definitely would. I think this should be a thing in the game. I would love it to come back, but as long as there's a cheat option that for your already pre-existing Sims that have sort of already been living their lives, if you had a story in mind for them, that they were already sort of the famous people in your file save, that you can cheat their fame up, which usually there is stuff for that. So as long as there's that cheat, I definitely want that to come back. I think it's think they could do so much more with it. I think they could, especially with Sims and like EA in general, since they are so connected with a lot of their players, like the EA Game Changers and things like that. I think it would be cool if they finally brought in maybe something in The Sims that does like bring like live streaming and like Twitch and YouTube into the mix as like an actual career option. I know technically in the social media career you can live stream like games and things like that, and social media sort of is trying to round them about. But I feel like they could add more options to the social media thing, because I think there's only like a manager or something, and then I don't remember the two paths, but I feel like there could be more paths for you to work on with the social media that would work better. But there is a lot of people that are being more well known through a lot of different ways, so I definitely think that would be cool to have. And I mentioned in the last part, I think it would be cool for the different careers that different people would react to these celebrities or superstars in different ways. So, like, if you were in the scientist career, there may be someone that's really high up in the scientist career and super famous, super well known for being a scientist, and you look up to them, you see them as a superstar, as a celebrity in the science community. You would absolutely love to meet them in real life, but someone else may not. So I think that would also be a cool feature, that individual hobbies and careers may have different celebrities and things like that. Someone like a actor or actress is probably just going to be an overall celebrity. Anyone would probably want to meet them for the most part, so something like that almost everyone should react to. But I feel like there's a chance that there's an option they can explore, making it to where only certain people react to some celebrities or whatever. So there's a lot I think they could do with that, and I think it would be cool if it come back. But I'm going to go ahead and head on to the next one, since we have sort of already seen that one a little bit, so that we don't spend too long on it. And I think this is actually the last one. And this actually talks about something that, or sort of reference something I said that I was going to leave to the end, which would have been the only thing that I think that I would have left to the end that I haven't sort of wanted that someone else hasn't mentioned. And this is Jojo Sweon Musk, which she may have the same name, but her ad name is Jackie Trivia. And she's in all caps. She's like, I want my mom Sim to recognize her daughter at the park. LMAO. So the recognizing certain things, reacting to certain things. I think we was talking about like the cars and stuff. Sims reactions to stuff is not as genuine and not as often as I feel like it should. So I definitely feel like if someone is walking down the street and they see their best friend, if you're not playing at either one of those households, but those two Sims just coincidentally should be walking down the street, I think they should like recognize each other. I think they should react to it, and I feel like if someone gets abducted by an alien and all of a sudden goes missing, I feel like everyone else in the household should be like reacting to, where is this person gone, what has just happened. So in like there with parenthood, and I know with like sometimes with like the pets going missing, Sims do react to that sort of stuff, but again, there isn't as many reactions as I wish they would be. Like, if someone is doing something and someone catches them, I think they should react a certain way, versus I see Sims doing stuff that they either shouldn't be doing or stuff that is a little surprising or shocking happen, and they do it, and other Sims walk on by and look at them and then just keep walking on. And I'm like, technically, wouldn't you be in a little bit of a shock if you saw that? So I wish Sims reactions were a little bit more well defined, so that, and reacting to certain things. So I would like stuff like that. It's a simple little thing, but I would like that, and I don't know how you would include that unless it was just a free update. But I definitely think that would be better, because Sims do not react to things going on around them very well at all. It's only the super dramatic things that they really react to, and sometimes they don't all react to that either. So, yeah, it's a little strange, but, and I feel like, I don't know with the pets, this is gonna sound bad to say, but in a household, if a pet technically goes missing or runs away or whatever, which some pets run away way too much, I'm just gonna say that right there, But if they do run away or go missing, some people aren't going to be as worried about it as others. Because some people might be in the mindset, like in real life, some people might be in the mindset, oh, well, they'll come back, it's fine. And then, not to be mean or anything, there are some people in a household where most people like the pet that they have, but there's one person that really doesn't care about it, and that sounds horrible, but it does happen. You're always going to have people, if you have a bigger household, you're going to have people that absolutely love this pet, people that care about this pet, but you know, they may not be fully in love with it, and then you're going to have a chance of people actually not liking the pet. You're going to have chances where people want to get rid of the pet, but the only reason why they don't get rid of it is because someone that they care about in the household is so attached to it. So, they may be concerned for their family member or whatever, like, oh, their pet's missing, like, I'll comfort you, but they may not be as upset with it, so I feel like depending on their relationship level with said pet should depend on how sad they get. So, like, someone who's companions with their dog or whatever should be devastated, while someone who barely knows the dog shouldn't be affected. So I feel like reactions and stuff like that should be adjusted a little bit and also fixed a little bit because they don't react as well as they should. And a lot of times, like she was saying, Sims that are related to each other will just keep walking on by like nothing happened. And I don't know what is going on with my game. I cannot figure out, but my Sims forget people super, super easy. I don't know how many times I've had to introduce Evie to Mischievous. I don't know how many times, because... And Mischievous is her sister-in-law. She is married to her brother. To Evie's brother, anyway. So, yet Evie somehow keeps forgetting who she is, which makes no sense. You know who your sister-in-law is. If your brother or sister marries someone, you know who their significant other is. You may not, like, know them, but you still know them. You don't have to reintroduce yourself to each other. So, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's a mod that I have doing that. I don't know if MCC has a setting that's set wrong and is doing it. I'm not really sure, but that irritates me as well. So, but, you know, hey, whatever. But yeah, the reaction system could be better. It could be a lot better. Because family members half the time walk by each other and don't say a single word to each other, and I'm like, you just saw your cousin that you haven't saw in, like, weeks. Aren't you gonna say hi? But they don't. But anyway, that was the last one, so that concludes this part 2 of this video. I think both of them are going to be a little bit on the long side. I'm going to hopefully be able to not make it too long. Apologize if it is really long, but I tend to ramble, and there was a lot of really good ideas and really good thoughts, and it sort of, some of them made me really think a little bit more about things that could be in The Sims. So, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any things that you want to see in The Sims 4 that you did not hear in either one of these videos, please mention them down in the comments below so that I can interact with you and talk to you and give more ideas. And maybe if there's enough of them, I'll mention them in another video. I think being able to have videos to discuss these things are nice and cool, and I want to do these more often, so definitely let me know any suggestions you have or anything that you really want to see in The Sims 4 that is not already in there, or something that is in there that you think could be tweaked and made a little bit better. So definitely let me know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and share the video so that others may enjoy it as well. Also subscribe if you're not already so that you can look forward to future videos like this and other Sims 4 videos I have. I do other video games as well if you like those as well. So I feel like I've said as well a lot. Anyway, thank you so much for watching again, and make sure to check out my social medias, which will be down in the description below, and all of my Sims 4 playlists that will be down under that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!